So enough of concept discussion. So now let's jump into the action. So let's begin our action with Jenkins installation. For Jenkins installation, I'll take the sticky note and then so first exercise is Jenkins installation exercise. So step 1, launching an EC2 instance. So in that we'll go with Ubuntu 20 T2 medium and security rules. Security rule 1, port 22 and my IP, and second one is port 8080 and again my IP. So this is our, then we will launch the server, then we'll launch our instance. So once that is done, so now let's install Jenkins on Ubuntu. So for this, so this is launching an EC2 instance. That's our first activity, and here it's okay. So for that we need two things. One is Java development kit, and then after that we also require Java development kit to be installed, JDK, and then we will get into the documentation of Jenkins, and we will find steps to install Jenkins. Okay, let's get into the action. So EC2 instance, here it is. So it's terminated. So let me go to the EC2 dashboard and close this. So I'm in Mumbai region, that's fine. I will launch an EC2 instance in Mumbai region. So the name I'm gonna give is Jenkins server. As usual, OS I take AMI Ubuntu 20. We'll go with Ubuntu 20. Then T2 medium, we'll directly go for T2 medium. I want a fast machine. You can take at least T2 small. Don't go with T2 micro, because here we have to run Java development kit and Jenkins also. These are a little bit bigger tools, they require more space. So if you want, you take T2 small. I will go with T2 medium, the 4 GB RAM. And let me look for key pair in this. So I have Maven key. Okay, I'll create a new key. Let's say Jenkins key and click on create key pair. So now it's time to come to settings. So for the network setting, so I can take, let me check. I don't think I have an existing security group, so let me create a new security group here. So the security group, I would say Jenkins SG, and copy this and place it here. That's it. Now we're gonna add our security group rule. The first security group rule remains same other than just adding source type to my IP. So that we can access our EC2 instance through SSH. So one more security group rule that we are going to add is we'll keep custom TCP and port range. I'm gonna put it 8080 and source type I'm gonna say my IP. So with this we can access the application which is running inside the server through HTTP protocol through browser. TCP and HTTP, TCP and IP protocol through the browser. These are the two security groups are enough for now. If it is required, we can add later on. And rest all will keep it same. So let's launch an instance. So meanwhile, let's get into downloads. I hope we'll have a downloads file. It's not there. So let me click on. Yeah, it takes a few seconds. As we know this, we have been facing the same issue whenever we launch an instance. So let's respect the way of functioning of this AWS, and let's wait for it to be back on work. So now let me click on downloads and open the downloads folder and cut and paste it in your Jenkins in action. So here I'm gonna put 3. Yeah, so here I'm gonna create a folder, so saying Jenkins exercise, Jenkins exercises. Inside that I'll place it. So let's check. I hope the machine might have been running by this time. So let's validate that one. Yes, the machine is up and running. So now it's time uh, to log into the machine. So EC2 instance. So I'll go to the SSH client because we have give one security group through SSH so that we can access that. So now let me get into our Jenkins exercises and open git bash and paste it. It's asking, I would say yes. Done. So clear the screen and will become sudo I immediately. So in spite of Ubuntu. So that's it. Now let's take up our sticky note and markup. So launching an EC2 instance and security group rules, everything is done. So now it's time to install Jenkins. But before we install Jenkins, so we have to install Java development kit. So Jenkins installation is pretty simple. You just need a Java JRE or Java development kit based on your requirement. So mostly we will be using Java development kit, and you can run Jenkins on any operating system. We are going to and run it on operating system Ubuntu, because that's what we have taken, Ubuntu AMI, that's 20, but we'll be able to see how to integrate it. So let's take an EC2 instance. So in this instance, let's install our Jenkins on it. So now what will we do is, let's go to the Jenkins installation documentation, and we'll see. Okay, so and Jenkins documentation, Jenkins user documentation. You see that there is lot, but what we want is, I think it's clear now. So user handbook, we'll be looking into this ladder tutorials. Here you will have a guided tour, Jenkins pipeline, and here resources. But so let's jump into the user handbook first. In this, we will go to the installing Jenkins. So in Jenkins, using Docker container, Kubernetes, Linux, Mac OS, Windows, other systems, war file. So we'll go with the Linux. So I have selected Linux, and inside the Linux you have plenty of other tabs, either Debian or Ubuntu. In that again, long-term support, weekly release, installation of Java. It's actually, so that's what we were discussing when we were discussing about the theory. Okay, then we have Fedora, Red Hat or CentOS, and post installation setup wizard. That's okay. So anyway, whichever OS that you take, this post installation setup wizard has to be done. So that's the reason we will look into that later. But for now, ours is Ubuntu. So let me click on this Ubuntu. So here you can see on Debian and Debian based distributions like Ubuntu, you can install Jenkins through apt. So we're gonna use apt. Okay, so we will go with the long term support release. Okay, no, I'm gonna go with weekly release because I think just last week while I was working with working on some project, I used long-term support release. So that time it did not work. So I'll try with weekly release only. Okay, so I'll go with the weekly release. A new release is produced weekly to deliver bug fixes and features to user and plugin developers. So it can be installed from the Debian apt repository. Okay, in Debian apt repository, the Jenkins file has been placed. So now we have to use these commands to basically bring it this binary file of Jenkins into our Linux machine. So let's copy this first, curl, and go to our Linux machine and say and paste it. So what it's doing, curl, basically it's kind of wget. It rips off the files that are there inside that, it downloads and rips off the files which are there in that respective URL. So here https package.jenkins.io, inside that Debian and jenkins.io.key. So here, so and this one will be pipelined with the sudo t, and then whatever that comes should be placed. It's basically a redirection symbol. This is output a redirection, and the output of this command output of the command curl and t sudo t should be redirected to this file, and it should be saved in user share keyrings jenkins keyring.asc. So and then if anything else comes and the output, then that should be placed in tab or null. Okay, let me execute this first and we'll see. Okay, it's done. So now let me do cat of this and we'll see the code. This is just for your understanding, nothing much. You see that PGP public key block, this is a public key block. If you remember, we have used a PGP or GPG key to our GitHub in our GitHub course. If you remember that GitHub module, so in that we have used the same thing. So that's what I wanted to show. So most of the tools follow whenever we install it. This step will be normal. So placing this key ring, the public key into this key rings directory in that file. So it's normal. It's nothing. It's not the complicated thing. It's very simple thing. Yeah, normally the system, the repository will generate two keys. One is private key, other one is public key. The private key will be in the repository, in the apt repository, whereas the public key will be given or distributed to the machine where the software is being installed, so that so that we can set up or establish a secure connection between a repository and our Linux machine, so that this can download that file, a binary file, securely, and after that we can use it securely. So that's what the purpose of this PGP key. Okay, so what's next then? So the key has been attached. So now let's echo what they want to echo, that we will see. Okay, let me do this echo and complete piece of code. So let me clear the screen first, and yep. So echo deb signed by, you see that same directory where our PGP public key presents, and then this takes us to next line, and here you can see that again the same directory. So this time you are going to the binary. So this information, whatever this key consists of, that will be given as input to this binary file, Debian binary file, piped with the sudo t. Okay, so once the output of this command will be given as input to etc apt sources.list.jenkins list. Okay, finally we will check that in this we should find a Jenkins binary file which is configured with the key rings. The same logic happens. The private key with the apt repository, and public key is placing inside this machine. That's it. But it's connecting with the binary file. So okay, that's fine. Echo e. So done. So the next step is to do update sudo apt get update, and let's update the package and apt get install Jenkins. Only two things. Let us do that. Apt get update the whole package, whole the tool, and then once update is done, we will go for apt get install Jenkins. But the issue with this is you need to have your Java. So without Java, it's not going to work. So what will we do now? So we have to install Java first, and then we can go ahead with our installation. So anyway, till now we have done till this step. Okay, sudo apt get. Okay, so now let's install Java development kit. We'll install Java development kit first, and then we will finish our installation of Jenkins. Let me clear the screen first, and I would say this time to install JDK I'll use apt only, not apt get. So I would say apt update. So then I will install apt install open JDK 11 and JDK option Y. So remember, open JDK 8 JDK is used for the Maven as a dependency, whereas for Jenkins we use 11, OpenJDK 11 for Jenkins. Remember this, huh? Remember this. But when you require for a Maven tool, again you have to install Java 8. So far 18, 10, 13% has been done. So it will take more time, I guess. That's okay. Let it go on. 60% is done. 73% is brilliant. Let it go on faster so that. So now it's waiting for headers. Okay, that's good. So let's once it is done, we'll check the Java version also. Once Java is installed successfully into our machine, our EC2 instance, but we call it as a Jenkins server. So we from now onwards we'll call it as Jenkins server only. So once Java is installed successfully into our Jenkins server, so then we will finish the Jenkins installation. But so far we have done few steps in bringing the PGP key or GPG key into our machine and configuring with the binary file of that, and then so now it's time to what left is installing the Jenkins file. Or installing the Jenkins files is nothing but bringing that file from bringing that file from the repository to from apt-get a repository into local into our EC2 instance. That's what the installation means, nothing much. Okay, it's taking too much of time, but let's wait. So by the time we can, okay, you just watch what steps are taking place, what's unpacking, what is unpacking, what is getting packed. So you just see whenever you install something, you just don't leave it alone and go for so like you go for tea or chai or something else, or you just watch something else while the application is being installed. Don't do that. Just focus on and go through it, what all files are going on, because it's nothing but, see, initially these were source code, then source code was compiled and then it was packaged into jar or war or .exe, and then when we install it, it will initially unpack it, and then you can see all the files which are going up and down, which are scrolling up and down, no? So that's the reason. It's, as a software guy, you should uh, look into the what exactly is going on. So I think it's done. So it's done. Two times it gave done, done, done. So now let me check Java version. So Java version is 11.0.17. So it's 2022 1018, the latest version. And runtime build, OpenJDK runtime environment is this for the Ubuntu. So we have Java. So now it's time for us to install Jenkins. We will update apt-get one more time. It's getting updated. It's done. So now let's install Jenkins. Apt-get install Jenkins and option Y. So now if you observe the same directory where it brought a PGP or GPG key, it went to there, then package.jenkins.io debian binary Jenkins, and it's basically downloading fetching the files from there and putting into our EC2 instance. So where it's putting lib systemmd system jenkins.service. This is where it's putting. So there you can find the Jenkins service, which serves the our Jenkins application. So that's the reason we call this instance as a server, Jenkins server. It serves the application. Literally, one application runs inside that machine, so it serves that. So that's the reason we call it, and it uses man GB also because it need to store. Uh, it needs to store a repository, so that's the reason it requires a GB also. Anyway, we have taken 8 GB of additional storage. That's enough for now. So our Jenkins has been installed, so processing triggers for mandb and systemmd. So let's check Jenkins version. So Jenkins version we are gonna check. So you can see that Jenkins and option long option version it's 2.388. So with this installation of Jenkins is also done. So one more step to be done is opening the Jenkins. So now configuring Jenkins application. So this is the next step. For this, what all we have to do? So first we have to access our application, our Jenkins application from browser so that we can see the UI of the Jenkins. Then we have to unlock the account and log into the system. So let's do that. For this, let's keep this system like this because Jenkins is also running and your Java is also running. Let's keep this and we'll go to our EC2 instance. Here is our EC2 instance. Get back to the EC2 instance. So click on Jenkins server, copy the public IP of this and get into our browser and paste it here. And which port we said? 8080, and click on. Here it is. Your Jenkins is in front of your eyes. Whoever is following me and whoever is able to open this one, a big congratulations for you. You have stepped up into your first step in learning Jenkins. One more time, a big congratulations. So now let's continue with our processor. So now we have to unlock. So it's done. So this is done. We are successfully we are able to access that through browser, but we have to unlock the account and log into the system. So where will we get it? It's saying to ensure Jenkins is securely set up by the administrator, a password has been returned to log. So not sure where to find it, and then you can go to the documentation and you can click it. But see, why they have set up this unlock Jenkins is, see, if anybody has this public IP and port number, they can access this your application through their browser. So irrespective of from which machine they're working. Okay, so that is the reason. Who knows, it's not security, na, it's not, there is no proper security for that. Anybody can access your uh, your Jenkins and they can do anything from with it. So that's the reason. So it makes sure that you have to go to your server where you have installed your Jenkins. You have to go to your Jenkins server, you log into the server and you go to this directory. There you will find a password and bring that password and put it here. So that's why it's called administrator password. Only the one who administrates the Linux server where the Jenkins was installed can only handle this. That's the reason it's a more secure way of logging into the Jenkins. So let's get into our Jenkins server and we will find out that password. So cd var ls, we'll go to the lib ls. Somewhere you should see Jenkins. I hope you find out, or I would give ls pipe Jenkins. You see that? Complete information about the Jenkins and the file. So now let me enter into the Jenkins ls. So this Jenkins, let me clear the screen first and say, or let me make it much bigger. So ls, you see that Jenkins for Jenkins directory consists of config.xml. If you want to see what's config.xml, you see that this is the complete because as it is a Java based, you can see that Hudson, because it's the predecessor of so it's initially it was Hudson and then they have modified it into a JSON. You can see the JavaScript, the XML script that we have read, we have gone through it as in Maven part of fifth module. You see version and mode, user security, authorization strategy, where various tags for used. And you have node monitors.xml here, secret.key, users. So anyway, we have only one user so far, administrator, then Hudson.model, update center.xml, nodes, plugins, secrets, updates, user content, everything. So we have a secret content here. So let me give secret content, secret.key. So cat secret dot key, and this is our, or I would, this is our secret key. So you have to copy the secret key exactly till here. So root is not included. That's basically a Linux prompt, so you should not include that. So I have copied it. So let's get back to our browser. So that's not the one, so we have to look for secrets initial password. So let me get into that. So this secret key is for another purpose, but this for login we don't use it. So cd secrets, you see that in that secrets you have initial admin password jenkins.model jenkins come, so master.key. So we will go with initial admin password. So this is what is required for us. Exactly copy this one. So let us paste it in it here. Or a different way of finding that is directly we can use an absolute path of this, copy it and then go to your browser, clear the screen first, sorry, go to your bash and then say cat and paste the absolute path directly here and you will find it the simplest way. I just want to show you various files in Jenkins directory and I just want to make you familiar with the folders and files which are existed in the Jenkins directory. That's the reason I have taken the first step, that's the relative path. So let me copy this and let's get into the browser now and paste it here. It's pasted. Now let me click on continue. So never, I don't need to save the password. So now it's successful. So you got logged into the Jenkins server. So now it's time to add plugins. So what is plugin? Why do we need plugin? And what's the difference between a tool and plugin? If you install a plugin, do we need to install a tool again? Or this kind of plenty of doubts might bog your mind. But just wait for a while. I'm gonna explain everything. But for now, a plugin is basically an extension or supporting tool that will make you connect with the actual tool which might be installed in some other server. So for now, that's enough. Okay, so now plugins extend Jenkins with additional features. This is called extensibility property of Jenkins. Additional features to support many different needs. This plugin is important as well as tool also important. Both are important. So now you have two ways of installing plugins at the beginning. Install suggested plugins or select plugins to install. If you select this one, you can choose plugins whichever you want. So let's go through this once. So here if you click on, you will get all the plugins. You can select all the plugins and all the plugins will get installed. Total it has 52 got selected. So that's one option. Let me check out. And second one, you select none. So none of these plugins will be installed. All are uninstalled. Then finally you can select the suggested one. So these are suggested. Even if you select this and suggested ones, and then in additionally whatever you want, you can select it. Let's go through. So various types of plugins are grouped here. So the first group of plugin is organization and administration. Here the dashboard view, if you want to have a particular dashboard view, if you want to customize the way your Jenkins looks, so then you have to go for this administration, organization and administration. So customizable dashboard that can present various views of job information. So we are going to do this after entering inside the Jenkins server, inside the application. Okay, not now, we will do that. And we have configuration as a code and OWASP markup formatter. And second one, we have build features section. Build features section plugins. There are 10 plugins, out of which 4 are suggested plugins. So build name with description. So build timeout is important. Config file provider, credentials, binding is also important. Remaining SSH agent. So this plugin allows you to provide SSH credentials to builds via SSH agent in Jenkins. So this also will be useful. We will use it in the later section. So at this moment, this is not required. Then timestamper will be very useful. Adds timestamps to your console output. It's important. We will use it as a suggested plugin. We will install it. Then after the build features, let's go into the build tools. So build tools, as we have discussed in Maven section, and Gradle, MS Build, Node.js. Gradle and by default are not required. Anyway, we will go for the Maven. It's not required, but still as they are suggested. Okay, I will uncheck these things. These are not required. Okay, so then, but if you check it, then only you can see these things in your configuration. If there is no, okay, we will discuss this later. So then we have build analyzing and reporting tools such as Cobertura, HTML for publisher, JUnit. You remember JUnit? We have used it in Maven, and XUnit or some tools. Nothing has been selected. It's not required. Then the most important section, pipelines and continuous delivery plugins. So pipeline git. So what pipeline plugin will do? A suite of plugins that lets you orchestrate automation, simple or complex. So GitHub branch source, pipeline GitHub Groovy libraries, pipeline stage view. So basically the stage view that you see on the dashboard because of this plugin. I'll show you when you build a pipeline, it shows a stage view that because of this plugin. Then conditional build step, parameterized trigger, copy artifact. Then we have a source code management. So source code management, we have 10. So Bitbucket, CVS, Git parameter, GitHub, GitLab, P4, lot of tools are there, but we will go repo subversion, almost every tool that related to the source code management. So all the tools that are related with the source code management are attached as a plugin here. So let's go with the Git only. This plugin integrates Git with Jenkins. I will select GitHub also. This plugin integrates GitHub to the Jenkins. Then we have distributed builds. So here you have two SSH build agents. That's more than enough. Then user management and security. So here it's basically authentication, POM authentication, adds Unix pluggable authentication module, PAM support to Jenkins. So LDAP is one more authentication technique. So these are to have a safe and secure authentication. It's all user management strategies. Then we have notifications and public publishing. For that, you email extension we have. So we can use email extension. So once the build is done, it will send a notification through email or mailer. So either of this can be used. Then finally we have a languages, locale or localization. So Chinese, this is not required. So let me install the suggested plugins only. Okay, all the suggested plugins has been checked. Around 19 plugins are there. So 19 plugins has been checked. So let me install the checked 19 plugins. It takes a while. Just bear with me. So folders has been installed. Timestamper, which is related to the build features section, has been installed. And WOWASP markup formatter, that's related to the administration and organization, has been installed. Build timeout, again related to the build features, has been installed. Credentials binding, again related to the administration. And workspace cleanup had to be installed. Ant and Gradle, which are basically build tools, are getting installed. So on a right section you can see which tool is getting installed and at what stage, and what all things related to that tool has been as getting installed. So if you see timestamper, a caffeine API, script security, JaxB, Snake AML, YAML API, jQuery 3 API, eCharts API, Display URL API, JUnit, Matrix project, resource disposal, a lot of things by the time Ant got installed. So you can see what all things were getting installed during that installation can also be checked. And at the bottom you can see that the bottom most at the bottom most of this window you can see the Jenkins version, that is Jenkins 2.388. That's a Jenkins version. So Gradle is also installed. You can see the mailer. So mailer belongs to the notification section. So the mailer has been installed, and email extension LDP yet to be installed. So we have selected GitHub also. Okay, we did not select, maybe. Yeah, GitHub branch source. So GitHub and Git both are getting installed. Pipeline and pipeline stage view also is required because we want to see the pipeline stage view. So that is the reason we will install the pipeline stage view also. So almost 80% of tools were installed. Only few percentages are left. That is PAM authentication, LDAP, and email extension is the only one left. So all done and dusted. So now, so once it is done, it's asking for username. I will simply say admin and save and continue. So this is the URL of my application, my Jenkins application. So you can access this here also. So let me keep that and I will click on save and finish. So it's done. Jenkins is ready. Your Jenkins setup is complete. Now you can start using Jenkins version 2.388. Congratulations, whoever has followed up till here. If you are able to see the Jenkins UI, that means you have reached your milestone, one of the milestones in automation, in automating the tasks, in building CA, in building CD using Docker. So you are halfway around the way. So before we explore other things, let's get back to our slides and go through this. Let's look into some of the theory or theoretical concepts, and we will get back for the practical exercises on Jenkins. So Jenkins installation is done. Let's get back to the configuration of Jenkins application is also done. So we have to unlock the account. We have logged into the system. We have installed the plugins, all set, all done. So let me cross these things now. So that's it.